ExamPrep.School, Wisconsin General and State Personal Lines Insurance Exam, Exam Code 22-9. There are 4 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Auto insurance, dwelling policy, general insurance, homeowner's policy, insurance regulation, other coverages and options, property insurance basics. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Pursuant to Rice-Wise Stat. Sec. 628.06. What is the primary purpose of requiring individuals to obtain an insurance producer license in Wisconsin? A. To ensure insurers maintain adequate financial reserves. B. To standardize premium rates across different insurers. C. To verify that producers meet minimum qualifications and protect the public. D. To centralize the collection of insurance premium taxes. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is C. The licensing process confirms that producers satisfy statutory qualifications and provides consumer protection by ensuring agents are knowledgeable and accountable. Reason A is not correct. Licensing pertains to producer qualifications and not insurer solvency requirements. Reason B is not correct. Licensing does not regulate or standardize insurer premium rate structures. Reason D is not correct. Licensing is not intended to serve as a mechanism for tax collection. Question 2. Under Rice-Wise Stat. Section 628.03. Which condition must a non-resident individual satisfy to be licensed as a Wisconsin insurance producer? A. Submit a fingerprint card and complete Wisconsin pre-license education. B. Hold a valid resident license in the home state and file a non-resident application with fee. C. Post a surety bond in Wisconsin equivalent to the home state requirement. D. Maintain a primary place of business within Wisconsin boundaries. The correct answer is B. Non-residents must have a valid home state license in good standing and submit a non-resident application with the required fee to Wisconsin's OCI. Reason A is not correct. Fingerprinting and pre-license education requirements differ for resident applicants, not non-residents. Reason C is not correct. Wisconsin does not impose a surety bond requirement on non-resident producers. Reason D is not correct. Non-resident status eliminates the requirement to maintain a business location in Wisconsin. Question 3. Under Rice-Wise Stat. Sec. 628.06. Which combination of items must accompany an application for an individual insurance producer license in Wisconsin? A. Completed application form, required fee, certificate of appointment, and proof of insurance coverage. B. Completed application form, evidence of financial responsibility, continuing education transcripts, and fingerprint card. C. Completed application form, required fee, proof of pre-license education and fingerprint card. D. Completed application form, proof of age, surety bond, and evidence of residency. The correct answer is C. Wisconsin requires a license application to include the application form, thus fee, proof of completing pre-license education, and fingerprints for background review. Reason A is not correct. Certificates of appointment and insurance coverage are not part of the initial licensing application. Reason B is not correct. Evidence of financial responsibility and CE transcripts are not required at initial application. Reason D is not correct. Proof of age, bond, and residency evidence are not mandatory application attachments. Question 4. According to Wisconsin Stat. Sec. 628.062 What is the purpose of requiring insurance producer applicants to submit fingerprints? A. To verify compliance with mandatory continuing education. B. To conduct a criminal background check through state and federal databases. C. To confirm financial responsibility standards are met. D. To document proof of residency and legal presence. The correct answer is B. Fingerprints are collected to enable a comprehensive criminal background check via state and federal repositories before licensing. Reason A is not correct. Continuing education compliance is not determined by fingerprint submission. Reason C is not correct. Financial responsibility is assessed through separate disclosures, not fingerprinting. Reason D is not correct. Residency and legal presence are verified by other documentation. Question 5. Under WIS Stat Sec. 618.08, on what schedule do Wisconsin resident insurance producer licenses expire and require renewal? A. Biennially on December 31st of even-numbered years. B. Annually on the anniversary of the original issue date. C. Biennially on the last day of the licensee's birth month. D. Every 3 years on the last day of the calendar quarter of issuance. The correct answer is C. Resident producer licenses expire biennially on the final day of the licensee's birth month and must be renewed before that date. Reason A is not correct. Expiration is tied to birth month, not calendar year ends. Reason B is not correct. Renewals occur biennially, not annually, and on birth month, not issue date. Reason D is not correct. Licenses do not follow a 3-year or quarterly cycle. Question 6. Per WIS, admin. Code ends 7.02. How many continuing education credit hours must a Wisconsin resident insurance producer complete each renewal period, and what is the minimum ethics requirement? A. 30 hours total, including at least 5 hours in ethics. B. 24 hours total, including at least 3 hours in ethics. C. 15 hours total, including at least 2 hours in ethics. D. 12 hours total with no specific ethics requirement. The correct answer is B. Wisconsin requires 24 hours of continuing education per biennial period, of which a minimum of 3 hours must cover ethics. Reason A is not correct. The total in ethics hours exceed Wisconsin's specified requirements. Reason C is not correct. The total hours fall short of the 24-hour biennial mandate. Reason D is not correct. Wisconsin mandates an ethics component, so no ethics options are invalid. Question 7. After a formal hearing, the Illinois Department of Insurance revoked Emma's resident producer license in Illinois for failing to disclose material information. Under Wisconsin law, what must Emma do regarding this administrative action? A. Notify the Office of the Commissioner of Insurance in writing within 10 days of final disposition, including a summary of the findings. B. Notify the Office of the Commissioner of Insurance in writing and submit a certified copy of the final order within 30 days of final disposition. C. Provide an oral report to the Office of the Commissioner of Insurance within 5 business days without submitting any documents. D. File written notice with the Office of the Commissioner of Insurance within 60 days of final disposition, accompanied by a copy of the complaint. The correct answer is B. Wisconsin law requires a producer to provide written notice and a certified copy of any out-of-state final administrative order to the OCI within 30 days of the order's final disposition. Reason A is not correct. The statutory period is 30 days rather than 10 days, and a summary of findings alone does not satisfy the requirement for a certified order copy. Reason C is not correct. Oral reporting is not acceptable under Wisconsin law. Written notice and documentation are required. Reason D is not correct. The deadline is 30 days rather than 60, and providing only the complaint rather than the certified final order is insufficient. Question 8. Which of the following is a primary regulatory responsibility of the Wisconsin Office of the Commissioner of Insurance? A. Approving federal insurance regulations before they take effect in Wisconsin. B. Setting premium rates independently of actuarial analysis. C. Adjudicating disputes between insurers and policyholders. D. Conducting financial solvency examinations of insurers. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is based on the office's statutory mandate to examine and monitor insurer solvency to protect policyholders and maintain market stability. Reason A is not correct. Jurisdiction over federal regulations lies with federal agencies, not the state insurance office. Reason B is not correct. Premium rates are submitted by insurers with actuarial justification and reviewed rather than independently set. Reason C is not correct. The office does not directly decide individual claim disputes. That occurs in courts or through arbitration. Question 9. Under Wisconsin insurance law, rulemaking authority granted to the Commissioner of Insurance is subject to review by which legislative committee? A. Joint Committee on Finance. B. State Senate Insurance Committee. C. Joint Committee for Review of Administrative Rules. D. Legislative Council Rules Committee. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is based on Wisconsin's Administrative Procedure Act, which requires review of agency rules by the Joint Committee for Review of Administrative Rules. Reason A is not correct. The Joint Committee on Finance oversees the budget, not administrative rule review. Reason B is not correct. Bills affecting statutes may go to the Senate committee, but administrative rules are reviewed by a different joint committee. Reason D is not correct. Legislative Council Rules Committee advises on drafting statutes but does not review administrative rules. Question 10. Under Wisconsin statutes, what must an insurer file annually to maintain its certificate of authority? A. A copy of its errors and omissions insurance policy. B. A current list of all active policyholders. C. An annual audited financial statement certified by a CPA. D. A consumer satisfaction survey report. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is required under statutory provisions for financial transparency, mandating an audited financial statement to ensure solvency and regulatory compliance. Reason A is not correct. Errors and omissions coverage is required for producers but not for insurer certificate maintenance. Reason B is not correct. Maintaining a policyholder list is administrative but not a statutory filing requirement for authority. Reason D is not correct. Consumer surveys are not mandated by statute to maintain an insurer's certificate. Question 11. Under Wisconsin regulations, how often must the Commissioner of Insurance examine the solvency of each licensed insurer? A. At least once every 5 years. B. At least once every 10 years. C. At least once every 3 years. D. Only upon formal request by the insurer. The correct answer is A. The correct answer reflects the statutory minimum frequency for financial examinations, ensuring timely oversight of insurers' solvency. Reason B is not correct. Examinations are more frequent than every 10 years under Wisconsin law. Reason C is not correct. The statutory interval is 5 years, not 3. Reason D is not correct. Examinations are mandatory at set intervals, not solely on insurer request. Question 12. What is the primary purpose of market conduct examinations conducted by the Wisconsin Office of the Commissioner of Insurance? A. To assess the financial solvency of insurers. B. To evaluate overall insurance market growth trends. C. To verify compliance with insurance laws and fair treatment of consumers. D. To determine adequacy of insurers' reinsurance programs. The correct answer is C. The correct answer aligns with the mandate to ensure insurers and producers comply with laws and treat consumers fairly in sales and claims practices. Reason A is not correct. Financial solvency is addressed through separate financial examinations, not market conduct reviews. Reason B is not correct. Market growth analysis is beyond the scope of conduct examinations focused on compliance. Reason D is not correct. Reinsurance adequacy is evaluated in financial exams rather than market conduct reviews. Question 13. Which of the following practices is prohibited under Wisconsin producer conduct standards enforced by the Office of the Commissioner of Insurance? A. Misrepresenting policy coverage to induce a purchase. B. Disclosing the commission rate earned on a policy. C. Retaining transaction records for the required retention period. D. Providing quotes from multiple licensed insurers. The correct answer is A. The correct answer reflects the prohibition on misrepresentation under producer conduct rules designed to protect consumers from misleading sales practices. Reason B is not correct. Disclosing commissions is permissible and often required for transparency. Reason C is not correct. Maintaining records for the statutory period is required, not prohibited. Reason D is not correct. Providing multiple quotes is allowed and encouraged under suitability standards. Question 14. An insurance producer in Wisconsin presents exaggerated advantages of a new homeowner's policy while understating the provisions of the client's existing coverage to persuade them to switch insurers. Under Wisconsin OCI regulations, this marketing practice is classified as which unfair trade practice? A. Offering unauthorized gifts to encourage purchase. B. Twisting by misrepresenting benefits of the current and proposed policies. C. Threatening policy cancellation to force a switch. D. Spreading false statements about a competitor's financial standing. The correct answer is B. This scenario involves exaggerating new policy benefits while understating existing coverage, which meets Wisconsin's definition of twisting an unfair trade practice in insurance marketing. Reason A is not correct. Offering unauthorized gifts describes rebating, which involves giving prohibited inducements rather than misrepresenting policy details. Reason C is not correct. Threatening cancellation is coercion, a different unfair practice that uses pressure rather than deceptive comparison of coverage. Reason D is not correct. Spreading false statements about a competitor's finances constitutes defamation, not twisting of policy benefits. Question 15. During a sales presentation in Wisconsin, an agent tells a prospective client that a standard auto liability policy covers punitive damages in all jurisdictions, despite the policy expressly excluding such coverage. Under Wisconsin insurance regulations, this practice constitutes which type of unfair trade practice? A. Defamation by making false statements about another insurer's policy. B. Misrepresentation of policy benefits by providing false information. C. Rebating by offering unapproved incentives to buy a policy. D. Coercion by pressuring the customer into an immediate purchase. The correct answer is B. Providing false information about policy coverage is misrepresentation, which Wisconsin law prohibits as an unfair trade practice. Reason A is not correct. False statements about another insurer's policy relate to defamation, not misrepresenting the benefits of one's own policy. Reason C is not correct. Offering unauthorized incentives falls under rebating, distinct from misrepresenting policy coverage. Reason D is not correct. Pressuring a customer is coercion, which differs from giving false coverage information. Question 16. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which of the following is a permissible purpose for obtaining a consumer report in connection with insurance underwriting? A. Assessing the creditworthiness of a consumer applying for a mortgage loan. B. Determining a consumer's eligibility for government assistance programs. C. Verifying a consumer's employment history for a new job. D. Evaluating the risk of insuring a consumer under a personal auto policy. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is that the FCRA explicitly permits obtaining a consumer report to evaluate risk in insurance underwriting, such as for a personal auto policy. Reason A is not correct. A mortgage application constitutes a lending context, not insurance underwriting, so it does not fall under that permissible purpose. Reason B is not correct. Government assistance eligibility is not among the statutory permissible purposes for insurance underwriting. Reason C is not correct. Employment verification purposes are separate from insurance underwriting and require a different permissible use under the Act. Question 17. When an insurer takes adverse action based in whole or in part on information contained in a consumer report, the Fair Credit Reporting Act requires the adverse action notice to include which of the following? A. The name, address, and telephone number of the consumer reporting agency that supplied the report. B. A summary of the insurer's underwriting guidelines used to evaluate the application. C. A copy of the consumer report used in making the adverse decision. D. An explanation of the insurer's internal decision-making process for coverage evaluation. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is that the Act mandates providing the consumer with the identifying details of the reporting agency that provided the report when adverse action is taken. Reason B is not correct. There is no requirement to summarize internal underwriting guidelines in an adverse action notice. Reason C is not correct. A free copy of the report may be requested but is not automatically provided in the initial adverse action notice. Reason D is not correct. Internal decision processes are not required disclosures under the Act's adverse action notice provisions. Question 18. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, a consumer disputing inaccurate information in a consumer report used by an insurer has the right to a reinvestigation by the reporting agency. Within how many days must the agency complete its reinvestigation after receiving notice of the dispute, excluding certain extensions? A. 15 days. B. 60 days. C. 45 days. D. 30 days. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is that the FCRA requires completion of the reinvestigation within 30 days of receiving the dispute notice, absent specified extensions. Reason A is not correct. 15 days is too short. The Act specifies a longer period for a reinvestigation. Reason B is not correct. 60 days exceeds the standard time frame specified in the Act for reinvestigation. Reason C is not correct. 45 days applies only when an extension is granted to gather additional information from the source. Question 19. A Wisconsin producer receives a personal auto insurance application that lists a Social Security number already assigned to an existing policyholder under a different name, uses a P.O. box as the residential address, shows a 6-month lapse in prior coverage, and provides emergency contacts who cannot be reached. Which of the following is the most likely indicator of identity theft? A. The provided Social Security number matches a different individual's record. B. The applicant lists a P.O. box instead of a street address. C. There is a 6-month lapse in the applicant's prior insurance coverage. D. Emergency contacts are unreachable and have no valid phone numbers. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is the mismatch between the Social Security number and the applicant's name, as this directly suggests someone may be using another person's identity. Other details, such as a P.O. box address, coverage lapse, or unreachable contacts, can raise general concerns but are not primary identity theft red flags. Reason B is not correct. Using a P.O. box may raise address verification concerns, but does not specifically indicate identity theft. $200 for in-network and $400 for out-of-network. Reason D is not correct. Unreachable contacts complicate verification but are not a definitive sign of identity theft. Question 20. Under Wisconsin law, property insurance rate filings must be submitted to the Office of the Commissioner of Insurance at least how many days before the proposed effective date? A. 15 days. B. 60 days. C. 30 days. D. 90 days. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is 30 days because Wisconsin statutes require insurers to file property insurance rates at least 30 days before use, allowing OCI time for review. Reason A is not correct. 15 days is too short to satisfy the statutory review period required by Wisconsin for property rate filings. Reason B is not correct. 60 days exceeds the minimum advance filing requirement, but is not the statutory period mandated under Wisconsin law. Reason D is not correct. 90 days is not specified in Wisconsin statutes for property insurance rate filings. The requirement is shorter. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below, we read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.